Hello everybody, it's Zach here. I've been looking through the forums today, and what I've noticed is that the idea of looking at intervals and finding out what they are and how to fully describe them is one of the areas that I think some people might benefit from having some extra assistance with and some closer explanation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to flash up some intervals on the screen. I'm going to talk through roughly the way that I would approach working out what they are and describing them, and hopefully just this will be useful for some people because it will allow you to almost see the process happen in action and watch it being talked through. Now what I'm using here on the screen is musictheory.net. I've just got a close-up of the little application. I would say check out this website because it is a fantastic one and it'll be really useful for you practicing some of the things that we're talking about. So, as I say, I'm just going to really quickly chat through a few examples for you and give you some tips as we go. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the clef, and I'm going to notice that this is the bass clef, which means that this lowest note here is a D. Counting up from our lowest note, we get D, E, F, G. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a fourth of some description. Now, what I always say to people is to look at the lowest note and imagine that you're in the major key, of which this is the tonic. So if you look at the lowest note here, we've got a D. So what I want you to do is just imagine that you're in the key of D major. So if you were in the key of D major, you would expect to find an F sharp and a C sharp and nothing else. So in this case, we've got a G. We're looking for D to a G natural. G would occur in the key of D major. Therefore, we're going to call this a perfect fourth. Let's click the button here and find out if we're right. Correct. Perfect fourth. So the lowest note here we've got is D, again, just by coincidence. So what we're going to do is we're going to count up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this takes us to a G. Now this is just sheer coincidence that we're getting a similar interval to the last one. Now in the last one we said it was D to G. There were no other sharps or flats, so therefore D to G was our perfect fourth. Now we've got a D to a G, but this time it's G sharp. So we've got D to G sharp. Now, because this upper note's been sharpened, it's made this note a semitone higher. And what that serves to do is stretch the interval. The gap's a bit bigger now between the bottom one and the top one. So what we've got here actually is what looks like a perfect fourth if it was just D to G, but it's been made larger by one semitone. So a perfect interval made larger by one semitone. We're just going to click on augmented fourth here and see that we're right. Okay, so this time what we've got is an A to an F. Now, we do have an F sharp in the key signature, but because we've got an F natural here, this natural sign cancels out the sharp. So what we can say is this is an A to an F. Let's count that numerically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. An A to an F is a sixth of some description. Now, if we were in the key of A major, we would expect to find an F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Right, so if this was to be A to F sharp, what we'd find out is that this is a major sixth. In fact, it isn't. This natural, F natural, is a semitone lower than the F sharp that we expect in the major key. So what we can say then is it's a major interval that's been made smaller by a semitone, and that gives us a minor sixth. Let's click this and see if we're right. Fantastic. Okay, so in this case we've got an A to C flat. Let's work through this one then, because this could be quite interesting. We've got A, B, C. So it's 1, 2, 3. We know it's a third of some description. Now, if we were imagining that we're in the key of the lowest note, so A major, we would expect to find an F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Now this is a C flat, so not only is it a C sharp that's been made lower by one semitone, taking it to a C natural, this has been lowered again, taking it to a C flat. So if we had a C sharp, it would be a major third. Lower it again to a C natural, it would be a minor third. And lower it again to the C flat. That's a minor third that's been lowered by a half step, and a minor third that has been made smaller by a semitone or by a half step. is a diminished third. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. This is an F, because remember we're in the bass clef now, to an A flat. Now, if we were in the key of F major, remember we're imagining we're in the major key of the lower of the two notes, then we would expect to find a B flat, and that's all. Now, in this case, we've got an A flat, so we would expect to find an A natural in the key of F major, and that would be a major third, but because we've got an A flat, it's been lowered by a semitone, we've got an F to an A flat. So it's no longer a major third, as it would be if we had an F to an A. It's been lowered by a semitone, so what we've got is minor third. Okay then, so this is one of the examples that I refer to that we can't really imagine we're in the key of the lower note. The reason for that is that our lower note in this example is a B sharp, and there isn't a key of B sharp major. So what I'm going to say is, when we get an example like this, let's ignore the accidental and ignore the key signature and just imagine that we're in the key of B major. So we're going to imagine that this lower note's a B natural, and therefore that we're going to be in the key of B major. Now, B major has F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and A sharp. So we would expect this to be a D sharp. So let's just go back one step then and count the number to get the numerical description of the interval. So we've got B is 1, C is 2, D is 3. So this is a third of some description. Now, as I say, if we were in the key of B major, we'd expect that to be a D sharp, because that's part of the key signature. If that was a D sharp, that would be a major third. Okay. However, this is only a D natural. So B, still ignoring the sharp for just now, B to D natural is a minor third. Now, because the lower note here has been raised by a semitone, what that does is it effectively makes the interval smaller by a semitone. The gap's been closed, making the interval smaller. So it would be a minor third if it was B to D, but what we've got is B sharp to D. So it's actually a semitone smaller than a minor third, and we refer to that as a diminished third. Okay, so what about this interval then? We've got a B flat to a D flat. Now, if we were in the key of B flat major, again, that's going back to imagining that we're in the key of which the lower note is the tonic, B flat, we would expect a B flat and an E flat, nothing else. And what we find here is that we've actually got a D flat. So if this was a B flat to a D natural, it would be a major third. But because it's a B flat to a D flat, which is a semitone smaller, that means the interval is a semitone smaller than the major third that it would be. So what we get is a minor third.